get on with it for today. Hello everyone, and welcome to the monthly updates on what's been happening with Dynamics 365 from Recann and XABS. So we'll have with us today Luis, Laze, and Jonathan. This is our disclaimer. So what we're going to be going through today, so the format for those of you who are new is we're going to have Q&A after each section. So we will give you some seconds after each section to ask questions. Please just enter them in the questions panel. We'll try to answer 1 to 2 questions max so that we don't spend too much time on sections. Please be short and clear. We will also try to be short and clear in our answers. If you need to go any deeper, please contact us. There's a survey. We appreciate your feedback so we know if this is working for you or not, and hear your ideas on how we could do it better. I'll show the URL at the end of the presentation, but you'll also get an email with it, so you don't need to remember the URL. Just pick up the email and do it, please. Materials. There's an email at the end of the webinar that will inform you how to get the PDF and the recording. This will go to people not attending. And the recording, which I've unfortunately spelled wrong, will be available on the Recann XABS YouTube channel for you. The agenda today. So Recann is going to quickly tell you a bit about themselves for those who don't know them yet, and something about what the resourcing market for Dynamics 365 looks like right now. You'll get shorter updates from us at XABS too, and then we're going to actually look at all the updates there are in the Dynamics 365 ecosystem. This month there wasn't really anything important or relevant in licensing. There'll be no changes, and while there are a lot of Azure or Azure, depending on how you like to call it, updates, there were none that were specific or relevant to Dynamics 365. So we'll be skipping those today. And now I'm going to hand over to Jonathan, who's going to tell us a little bit about Recann. Okay, Jonathan, you should have keyboard control and mouse.
Yes, thank you very much. Cheers, Louis. Hi, everyone. Hope you've all had a great week. And welcome to the December E365 Unified Operations webinar. So let's take you through to the next slide. Yeah, so I'm Jonathan Fisher. I'm the elf to the left of your screen. I thought, as it's December and this is the holiday season, that we'd make this a little bit more fun. For those of you who are on the webinar for the first time, I'll provide you with a quick introduction and overview to Recann, and then, as I say, with this being the final webinar in 2017, I'll provide you with a quick review of the year and the plans for 2018. So the people you see on your screen, they make up the management team at Recann. Between the three of us, there's nearly 30 years hands-on recruitment experience. At Recann, we have a network of customers in the UK, across Europe, and beyond. We work with a range of clients across industry sectors, from global brands through to ambitious SMEs. We're partnered with Louis and his team at XABS, which we believe gives us a competitive advantage over other agencies. Not only can we connect you with Louis and his team, but we're also naturally positioned to develop a deeper understanding of Dynamics 365. We like to think that we're different. We're one of the few consultancies that offer access to complimentary educational workshops and webinars. We're actively addressing the skills gaps within the market and sharing knowledge and information with you. Within the Dynamics practice at Recann, recruitment services spans the full remit of the Dynamics family. We work with technical consultants, functional consultants, project and program managers, QAs, BI specialists, Power BI specialists, you name it. So quickly to provide you a review of 2017 from our part, with XABS we launched the D365 implementation workshops. which have been a huge success, with over 95% of the attendees saying that they would recommend it to their people within their network. If anyone who is implementing or upgrading to D365 and haven't been on one of these workshops already, then please get in contact to see what availability we have for our next ones. The next one that we do have is on the 8th of December, so I know that's next Friday, but there are a couple of spaces still available, and then we'll start them again in the new year. We also launched the D365 Monthly Digest webinar with XABS, again to share information with you on the monthly updates from Microsoft. We've seen this year that there's been a massive increase in Dynamics 365 requirements across our business, and our client base in this particular area has actually grown by more than 45%. With the year drawing to a close, the majority of our requirements are now in the pipeline for next year. As always, you'll find all of our live jobs on our website. If you go to www.recann.co.uk/jobs. Over the past couple of months, we've seen a huge increase of demand for people with Power BI experience. So if you're a technical specialist, then we would certainly advise honing in on your skills in Power BI. And looking forward into 2018, if you're a contractor, then please update us on your availability, even if it's 6 months to 9 months, maybe even 12 months in advance. We're seeing a lot of our clients' schedules and pipelines, and they're involving us and working with us a lot more closely now. So please stay in touch and let us know what your pipeline looks like and when you may become available. If you know anyone else who's looking for the next role, again, whether that's on a permanent or on a contract basis, we offer a referral incentive to up to £500. Again, just before Christmas, that might come in handy. And that's all from me. I want to wish you all the very best for the rest of this year, and look forward to speaking to you in the new year. Hope you enjoyed the rest of the webinar. Speak to you soon. Over to you, Louis.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. Very well, so this is our part. And since the Recann guys are elves, we decided to have Father Christmas hats on us. So I'm not going to tell you a lot about us, but you can get a copy of the slides on the whole presentation PDF format if you expand the handouts section of the GoToWebinar. It's there, just click on it and you will get all of this. But this is the core team. We have other people working with us, and I think the most interesting is what we're really up to, so I'll move on to that. So our news, we are kicking off a CRM team based in Lisbon, Portugal. So we, since Microsoft is branding, or started branding or creating and developing the Dynamics 365 brand, basically the CRM and the ERP parts and several other applications are merging, and we decided that we need to have skills and be able to cover this area, and we've gone ahead. We are looking at some good prospects for next year in it. There's a coming management implementation that Jonathan has just met. It's going on in London, UK, 8th of December, and as we heard from Jonathan, there might be a few seats still available. So contact him if you'd like to join. We also have, in the beginning of 2018, a boost workshop with Microsoft in Zurich. This will be on the 17th. This is only for Swiss Microsoft customers, though. Kicking off an ERP on-premise project. So as of today, we're starting to do our first proof of concept of an on-premise implementation. So we're one of the first people to be doing this. Tips and tricks. We agreed previously, in order to do something or make it a little more interesting, that we would start with a couple of tips and tricks, and at the end we'll have a few more. So the first tip and trick, or tip, is that if you can't find or you don't know, because the Dynamics 365 for Operations application is so extensive and has such scope, it can be difficult to find a form or a report that you're looking for. you go up in the top in the menu, you'll see a magnifying glass, and there start typing what you're looking for, and it will automatically, as you type, show you all the available basically menu options that lead to forms or reports, and take it from there. Interesting enough, this is a great feature, and interesting enough, there seem to be a lot of people who are not aware of it. But now there you have it. I'll give you now a more technical tip, and this is about installing ISV licenses. Don't bother to remember this, okay? Just pick up the PDF version, it's all in there. But there are fundamentally three options. If you have an ISV solution, either they include it in the deployable package that they provide, and it will install when you install it through LCS. But many ISVs are not doing that. They provide them separately, so that somebody who gets hold of their package does not necessarily have the licenses. And this leaves you with two options. You can install the package manually, so directly on the environment where you want to install it. The smartest way here is if you place your licenses in the package under the folder AOS Service Scripts licenses you see here, then deploy the package, that will automatically install the licenses. If you did not do that, or if you deployed the package from LCS and did not include licenses, what you can do is you can go to the environment, open up a command line, and basically do something similar to the code sample that I have over there, or to the statement that I have over there. Just remember to replace the drive letters and the password so it matches your environment, and then you're up and running. So those were our starting tips and tricks. Let's go on to the real updates. LCS updates. So PU11, for anyone who is working with on-premise, is available for on-premise. So you can now deploy it or apply it to your environments. PU12 has just been released a few days ago. Unfortunately, this was far too late to get into this update. We haven't had any time to play with it, so we'll be covering that only in the January session. But it's out there, so if you want to look at it yourself, go ahead, download it, and apply it to one of your environments, or provision a new environment with it and try that. Business process model and custom VSTS templates. So this is there's been some problems. So if you try to synchronize it with VSTS, it would give you a blocking error if you had custom VSTS templates. This is now being changed, so you don't have a blocking error, but you have actually a warning. But this is still not working correctly, and as you'll see, there are 3 points there, things that you should not do. So don't remove any standard work types from your template. If you have a custom template, that means don't remove features, epics, or bugs. Do not remove any standard or work item type, including active, done, or removed, and do not add any required fields to a work item type, because they're required and the BPM cannot provide them. But if you stick to those rules, you will be okay, and you'll be able to synchronize your BPM within your VSTS, even if you're using a custom template in there. Translation for retail. This is really CRM related, but it's an LCS updated, and as things are merging, and this might be interesting because a lot of people are also implementing CRM, or the CRM part. So machine translation is now available for the CRM part too. So if you're doing CRM, it's now supported directly from LCS, just like it is with the ERP part of Dynamics 365. Downloading all binary updates is also something new. So you used to have to download platform and the binary updates that were not platform, which were application. But now you can have the option of, as you can see here, download all binary updates, and that includes both it's a combined package, all application and platform binary updates in one. So that saves you the trouble of going through this twice if you need to pick them all up. Local environment topology is back for a period during November. When you went to provision new environment, there was no option to provision it locally. It had suddenly disappeared. It's back and it's working. So if you need a VM, basically the local sends you to the Connect site where you can download a VM image to run on Hyper-V locally. Okay, so that's back up. Data templates. So this is also quite a nice improvement, and it is that the data templates and data packages that you have in your asset library, you can now apply them directly from LCS to your environments. So you don't have to do it through the application, which was how it's been done up to now. I guess this makes it easier that you don't have to have them in LCS and then download them and then go into the application and then import them from there. Now you can do it all directly from LCS. So that was a nice improvement, an update. Financial reporting, there is a cumulative update 3, it's available. This has quite a lot of stuff. I'm not going to go through the details of it, but if you're using the financial reporting, which everybody is, all the financial reports, all 22 of them are in financial reporting, you should consider and look at what's in there and see if this is an update for you. So that was the end of that session. Does anyone have any questions? So if you have any questions, please enter them in the questions pane. No? Okay, so I don't see anyone, no one was just sitting on the trigger. To get some interaction, I'm going to, I have a couple of polls and I'd like to run one of them now and hear from you about it. So here's the poll, and you should be notified. And just vote on where you are. We just give it a few more seconds. Not everybody has voted yet. I'll give you another 15 seconds. That will total 60 seconds for the poll. Okay, I think we can close it. And the result is that over 25% did not vote. 25% are not on Dynamics 365 yet, and 50% are. Okay, so a lot of people here are already on Dynamics 365. Thank you very much. I'll proceed. Poll closed. Poll. So, updates on support. The most important thing on the support is the application suite will soon be locked down for overlaying. This is such not not news, but Microsoft is trying to encourage people that if you cannot solve a problem without overlaying, and we work with Microsoft, therefore I'd like to tell you about this, make sure that you got it. If you cannot solve a problem with an extension, use the extensibility feedback program on the Connect site. A lot of people are not aware that on the Connect site you can, this exists there. And basically in there there's the Dynamics 365 Operations Extensibility Feedback and the programs. To be enrolled, if you're not enrolled, you will need to sign in a non-disclosure agreement, because Microsoft and you will be sharing sensitive information about what you're doing with each other, okay? And there's documentation about this at the URL here. Again, if don't bother remembering it, it's in the PDF that you can download. So if you're having problems, and we know that a lot of people are finding it difficult and they don't seem to be aware that this is the best way to get help from Microsoft. So keep this in mind. Any questions on that? No. Very well. Then I'll carry on with the platform updates. Whoops, sorry. Platform releases, as we can see from here, platform update 11 is the latest we had because 12 hadn't reached us, and this was mostly call attention that it's just out. We had already done this by the time it was released. So we are still on the build number that we have over here. Update locations. So Enterprise Edition Platform Update 11. This is you have 3 places where you can get it from. So you have lots of options, and this applies to all the platform updates from now. So as we've just mentioned in the binary updates tile, you can get whichever deployable package Microsoft has made available. There's the platform update 11 package also in the shared asset library, and then you can also find them during the issue search. I think the first 2 are the most common of them. So there are multiple ways, so people get confused about this because they don't know the difference, but they're exactly the results and what you get are exactly the same. You get exactly the same package. There are instructions for the upgrade finance and operations to latest platform update on the URL here. So go check it if you need to pick that up. Now I'm going to get into something quite technical because we've had quite a few questions on this lately, and it's about chain of command, the difference between chain of command, delegates, and event handlers. Now, if you look at the piece of code that we have here on the left, and let's say we had a requirement, which is we wanted to change the return value of the calc amount method, and we wanted to log some stuff in the post method. Okay, if we were doing event handling, which in the first case we were using an event handler for the calc amount, and this is a post handler, we'd put it over there, we'd see the code here, and then basically we would add 100 to the amount. The amount would have been set previously since this post event handler, and we return that result. Now, with the event handlers, this requires naturally that you can only do this after it has fired, or if there's a pre-event handler before it was fired, and you cannot really alter or anything in the code that's happened before. There's an alternative, as we can see in the second case, is the using a delegate. This, of course, has the drawback that delegates must be supported in the base class or in the class that you're subscribing a delegate to. This is a little more elegant because we could just add, delegate would just add a line in there, and basically that line would be executed on additionally to whatever code is being executed in the post method in the class that we wanted to extend. So now, how chain of command works. Chain of command is a bit more elegant in that what you can, as you can see, basically you create a class that's an extension of the class you want to extend functionality on. Then you create a method, a calc amount method, so an implementation of a method that you want to extend, and you always have to, as you can see, have the next statement. So, and basically the next statement passes or allows the control to be passed to the next class in the chain. And it will actually, if you don't have that there, it'll give you a compile error and you will not be able to compile your class. Now the nice thing about this is you can see we don't have to write all the code because we only need the code that's necessary to change the return value in there. So this is not replacing or rewriting or overwriting or doing any funny stuff to any of the values that are in there. So much more compact, much simpler, much easier to understand, much more natural. If we look at the post, which is even more obvious, the difference and the elegance in it, as you see, we have to next to pass so that we allow command to be passed to other classes that are extending via the chain of command pattern. And basically we just add the statement there of logging that we wanted to do. And that covers chain of command. Before I go ahead, since we typically have a lot of questions about this, does anyone have any questions? Nope, does not seem like there are questions, so I'll give you an extra piece of important information, which is one of the questions I often get, and that is there is no predetermined sequence in which the classes that extend the class that you want to extend are executed. So you should not count on that your extension is going to be executed in any given sequence. Okay, so don't make assumptions about what's happening before or after. The only thing that's guaranteed is that the base class will be executed, and then yours will be executed. So the base class will always be executed first. Okay, so that's the first class in the chain of command. Any questions on the whole section? I suspect not. Okay, let's then move on. Current updates for application updates. As we can see, there haven't been any, so the current is where it is. So PU11, PU12 came out, but there's no application update with it. There's been nothing major. Any questions on application updates from anyone? Nope, I see we don't have any. Okay, so Office will move forward with the Office 65 updates. Now there's a lot of Office 365 updates, but we're focusing on just the ones that are relevant to Dynamics 365 at this moment, and especially the ERP part of it. Now this is one that's also, interestingly enough, it's not quite new, but most people do not seem to be aware of it. But if you click on the corner, which here you see is a green square on the top left of your Dynamics 365 client, you can now directly from there navigate to all the applications in your tenant. So you have your apps that you can pin in there, but all the apps down at the bottom, click on it, and as you can see, for example, I have Power Apps, I have Power BI, I have OneNote, everything in there, and I could run it directly from there. But then you click it, so if I click on Power Apps, you can see then I could go to my Power Apps desktop, and there I can see some Power Apps that I've developed with Dynamics 365. One of them is currencies, so that's a Power App that allows you to see what currencies you have, and another one is actually one for creating purchase requisitions. Current advisories. So this is stuff that you should know in case you've been experiencing these problems. And the most important one is the one down at the bottom, which is usage reports have been delayed by several days. So if you're an admin, you suddenly might have gotten a fright because your data was missing. This is known. It's being worked on, and I believe it's already fixed. Yes, but it was there. So if you were missing it, go check now. You should be okay. Besides that, there was the service degradation advisory, and this was about users weren't able to access the day view on the meeting tab within Microsoft Teams. So if you were using Teams, you'd have had a problem there. So for those of you who don't know, Teams is replacing Skype for Business, and that's the road plan right now. So eventually we'll see everybody move in that direction. If you don't work with Teams yet, you might want to go check it out. There was another one which was a mail restore issue. In terms of Dynamics 365, it should not be a big deal. But if you had using the integration there to your email, somebody might have raised some tickets on this, and they were unable to restore single items from the recoverable items folder in the Outlook desktop client. That is back, or I think that one's fixed now too. Updates. So there's a lot of updates. These are not necessarily completely relevant to Dynamics 365. The thing is, since there are so many, we suggest if you're experiencing any problems with it, go check it, because there's been a lot of activity in November. Some are interesting within the context of the ecosystem, even though they might not be directly related to Dynamics 365. So a lot of stuff happening there. Anyone have any questions on this before I hand over to Lasse? No questions? Then I'll hand over to Lasse. Lasse, you should have keyboard and mouse control now. You're muted, Lasse. You are self-muted, Lasse. This can sometimes be a bit of a challenge. Should I try and unmute you? I'm going to give it a try. See, since yourself. I may have unmuted Jonathan instead. I think we're having technical difficulties with Lasse. No sound. Lasse, if you need help, can you just type something in the chat window? Okay, you cannot unmute. That's funny. Let me try and hand full control over to you then. Oh, Lasse has left us, so my apologies. Let's give him a second to turn back and see if he can recover his sound. While Lasse tries to join us, I have a second poll that I would like to send out, so we'll use this for something constructively. We have a poll open, and this is how often you check what's new in all of this stuff, so we have an idea if you guys are really benefiting from this, or if we're duplicating your work. So voting's open. Okay, 25% already. People are very quick and they've already voted. We got Lasse back. And Lasse, you should know. Yep, you got sound. So let us just finish the voting.
Yeah, sure. I don't know what happened. I had to rejoin. I was not able to unmute.
That's technology for you, high tech.
At least this was not a Microsoft product, huh?
No. Okay, we've got over a minute, which is what we usually give. We've got 50% of the votes and some 50% check daily and 50% check monthly. So, okay. So I hope we are adding some extra value and catching some of the things that you haven't caught and help you along. The 50% that are doing this daily, that's really, really good. I mean, that's pretty amazing from our experience. But great, thank you very much on that, and I'll hand over to Lasse in just a second after I close the poll. So Lasse, let me hand you the keyboard and mouse again, and then you're off to go. Good to go.
Yes. Okay. Do you have permissions? No, I think I am. So a couple of days ago, as you see, November 28th, was released the Sprint 126th of VSTS. It is the largest release to date from Microsoft. So it's the biggest, not only in terms of volume of features, but also in the impact that it will do also for your project. There are a lot of things here. Because there are so many, we are not going to discuss all of them. Most of them we're going to discuss, but not everything we can discuss in details. Okay. So first of all, let's discuss about the Azure DevOps project. So the DevOps project makes it easy to get started in Azure. This is a new thing, and it will help you to launch your app on the Azure service of your choice in a few quick steps. The DevOps project sets you up with everything you need for your developing, deploying, and monitoring of your app. There is a nice animation on the right of the screen to see how that works. So when you define a CI build on your VS+VSTS, you now get a fundamental choice. You can use a web-based interface or configure your CI process as code in your YAML build. And the release management now supports integrating continuous monitoring into release pipelines. You can use this to ensure that your system repeatedly queries all the health signals for the app until all of them are successful at the same time before you continue with before you release. VSTS now has cloud-hosted CI or CID agents running on macOS. That is a new thing, and it's in public preview. The import service enables customers to migrate from their on-premise Team Foundation servers and into the cloud of hosted SAS service Visual VSTS. This is a very requested feature, actually. If you have if you have on-premise TFS, you can via Wizard migrate to VSTS. The VSTS CLI is a new command line interface for working and managing your VSTS and TFS project with Windows, Linux, and Mac. There are quite a lot of details about that, how you can use it, and you can easily create now work items from the Queries Hub with the addition of the plus new command for the bar action that is here in the screenshot. The delivery plans extension now makes use of the common filtering component and is consistent with the grid filtering for work items on the boards. And these filtering controls brings improved usability and a consistent interface to all of the members in your team. You can now expand or collapse all of the items in the Sprint taskboard with just a single click. Markdown is great for adding rich formatting, links, and images in pull requests. Description and comments. Email notifications for PRs now display the rendered Markdown instead of the raw context, and that improves, of course, a lot of the readability. A lot of the pull request changes in this release, like pull request comment notifications that include the thread context, pull request service hooks, merge events, improved error messages for work items completing with a pull request. We have also improved the Azure Active Directory integration for pull requests, path filters for pull request policies, and there is also improvements in the pull request suggestion for forks. There's a lot of pull request updates. If you need, there's everything online, but if you need more details, just contact us and we can give you a little bit more information. In this update, it's easier to manage also the editor settings that were introduced in the previous update if you have followed our webinar, and persist them with all of the other editor preferences. If you frequently have your code reviewed by the same individuals, you will find it easier than ever to add some reviewers. So when you add reviewers to your pull requests, a list of your recently added reviewers will be automatically displayed when you put focus into the reviewer's input box. There is no need to search by name. To improve security and compatibility, Microsoft also updated the list of ciphers supported for SSH. With version control administration, and if you want to merely edit the repository level settings, now you can quickly perform your edits thanks to a new branches node, which is added underneath each of the repositories. In the build part of the updates, VSTS symbol server enables you to host and share symbols with your organization. Agentless build tasks that were added to the catalog are delay, invoke REST API, and publish to Azure Service Bus. Again, if you need more info to this, please contact us because there is a lot of information. Now also provisioning profiles can be installed from source code repositories. There is a new download secure file task supports downloading to the agent machines encrypted files from your VSTS secure file library. And also there are updates to the hosted VS 2007 pool include Visual Studio 15.4.0, as well updates to the Azure Service Fabric SDK, to the Maven, and to also to the Android SDK. In the release part of the update, the Docker Hub feature enables automatic creation of releases for updates to apps in the images stored into the Docker Hub registry or on an Azure container registry. Microsoft also added a new release definition template and enhanced the tasks that can enable continuous monitoring of your Azure web apps directly from within a release. You can now set up your Azure App Service deployments using the template Azure App Service deployment with continuous monitoring. And so with this, you can enable the application insight and configure the recommended alerts for your Azure web apps. When comparing the releases, you can now see Jira work items associated with the Jenkins builds in the work items tab of your release page. In the package updates of this release, the NuGet.org has an upstream source is now available, which this will enable you to use packages directly from NuGet.org through your VSTS feed. You can check the announcement blog that they announced together with Microsoft. Creating a new feed is now a full-page experience that is very similar to the new project screen. Basically, all of the experiences are unified to have the same experience everywhere. And with this update, Microsoft also added a new versions pivot that brings more information about prior versions and makes it easier to copy the version number or get a link to an old version of VSS. In the test part of the updates, the Visual Studio test task in build release requires Visual Studio on agent to run tests. Rather than installing Visual Studio to run tests in production environment or for merely distributing tests over multiple agents, use the Visual Studio test platform installer task. This task requires the test platform from NuGet.org and adds into the tools cache. The installer task satisfies the VSTS demands and has a subsequent Visual Studio test task in the definition and can run without needing a full Visual Studio install on the agent. From the test catalog, you can just click add the installer task in your definition, and after that you configure the subsequent Visual Studio test task that you use in the bit acquired via the installer. Over time, search documents have more content in the wiki pages. Across multiple projects in VSTS, finding relevant content can become increasingly very difficult. So to maximize the collaboration, you need the ability to easily discover content across all of your project. This was a very requested feature. So now you can use the wiki search to quickly find the relevant wiki pages by title or page content across all of your projects in your VSTS account. The analytics OData is now in full public preview and it's available to everyone. The OData provides developers access to analytical data to build their own widgets and tools. The visual team services content back in Power BI was deprecated from November 15, 2017. Existing PowerBI.com datasets based on the content pack will continue to be supported, but however, it will no longer be possible to create any new data sets. So you have to be aware of that. If you don't have the right permissions to purchase something from your account, you can just request what you need from the marketplace, and account administrator with the permissions to purchase will able to review your request and can accept or deny. You can start that by just going to the marketplace, select the extensions that you want and you need, and you can continue to check out. And from there, you will able to provide a justification to your administrator that has the possibility to purchase. Inviting new thing is also to invite directory guests to Azure Active Directory back to VSTS account. You can now easily invite people from outside of your Azure Active Directory, and even without leaving VSTS services. That was in short about VSTS. Do you have any questions? I don't see any questions.
Somebody did ask a question, I think. Just a second.
Okay.
But let me expand my window if I can. No. There was a question by Liam, but it's question back in. Oh, this was earlier on. I'm sorry, Liam, I missed it. I'll get back to you on this, Liam, at towards the end, so we can let Lasse continue. Okay?
Right.
Apologies,
okay.
I missed the question.
Yeah, I will take it later. So in the Power BI updates, you can see that the November 2017 update was released on the November 7th. This is the version number. So we can see what are the things. Of course, most of the updates always happen in the reporting area. We have some analytics updates, some data connectivity, and some query editing changes. In the reporting, Microsoft this month is extending the conditional formatting to include rule-based conditional formatting. So now if you have some specific business logic that to reflect in your table or matrix, you can create rules to conditionally color the background or font color of a column. To start that formatting based on your rules, open the color scales dialog and check the color by rule box, as you can see here in the screenshot. This will enable you to choose the colors by your business logic, and for each rule you can pick a color to use when a cell value is between two values, so between a range is equal to a specific value, for example, or maybe if it's a blank. When finished, just click OK to apply your rules, and each rule is applied in order top to bottom. This means that if a value meets the criteria of two different rules, then the bottom rule always applies. So always the last rule applies if the value is in two rules. And here you can see also on the right screenshot, you can see the results that are selected here. Quite a useful feature, if you ask me. Also added this month is a cell alignment control to the table and matrix visuals. You can specify left, right, or center alignment for your row and column headers, or you can set the alignment for one specific field in the field formatting card. The previous month, the selection pane was introduced, which lets you to easily select all of the objects of your report page and it also lets you control if the object is visible. This is extended, this pane, so to let you easily change which overlapping objects show on top of the canvas. And the selection pane is sorted so the objects higher in the list show in front of the object lower in the list, which makes logic. So you can drag and drop to change the order, or use the arrows on the top of the pane to move things up and down. This is something like when you do layers in Photoshop, for example. So when you are interacting with your report, either to test it or to pass as your analytical process, it's easy to accidentally nudge a chart a little to the left or the right. And to help you with this problem, the Microsoft added a button to view tab to lock all the objects in your report. This is also a very requested feature, because otherwise when you play around you can move it a little bit, and after that you cannot really find the exact place. So now you can lock your objects. So this will turn off resize and move, so you don't have to worry about messing up your layout as you interact with your report or you move around. This settings isn't saved with the report, so you have to enable it anytime when you want to use this feature. The S3 ARGS Maps for Power BI was announced at the Ignite 2016 and was become generally available in June 2017. Since then, this map has been empowering Power BI users to get more from their geospatial data. Now they are releasing a new subscription service called Plus that enables the maps for Power BI users to do even more with their geospatial data. Using the Plus, you can get richer mapping capabilities like more street geocodes or additional base maps like imaginary labels, national geographic data, oceans, and stuff like that. The Living Atlas reference layers that helps you add more context are also available. This is a quite narrow thing that if you work with data that is connected with geolocation, it's quite useful. Otherwise, it's not very interesting for you. So if you're working with either a very large or very slow data source in the direct query, some actions will take a while to get a response from the underlying of the data source. And to help you with that, Microsoft is giving you some options in the report to send fewer queries. So with this, it makes you easier to re-interact with the report. To access these options, you need to go to the Options dialog under File, Options, and Settings options, and you can select Query Reduction. These are the recently released custom visuals. The image timeline custom visuals displays event logs as in a horizontal timeline. The social network graph custom visual can be used for visualizing connections between people. The HTML viewer visual is let you display your HTML text strings, for example, rich text columns from SharePoint in its original formatting. And here in the screenshot, you can see how it looks before the HTML viewer and after the HTML viewer. So previously it was just HTML tags, and now it's like a real HTML viewer. Microsoft is extending the cell-level formatting support to multi-row cards this month. This means that for table, matrix, single-value cards, and multi-row cards, cell-level formatting defined in your multidimensional analysis services model will automatically flow through and will be applied. Also this month, a support for Windows authentication to the Impala connector is added. This apparently was a common request from existing Impala connector users. And in the next month, they will also add the support for Windows authentication on the on-premises data gateway, and this was a very requested feature, as well also a Kerberos-based single sign-on support for the Impala connector in the gateway. In the query editing part, Microsoft added support for generating conditional columns, transforms as part of the add columns from examples experience. This addition opens up a lot of additional scenarios to add columns from examples, and you can add basic conditional column. You can also add conditional column ranges. You can also do null fallback, and also the bucketing of uniform ranges. All of these can be discussed in details as are shown in the screenshot here, but we don't have really the time to go through everything. Are there any questions? Okay, then I give it back to you, Louis.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'll just tips and tricks, since we already had some and we're running out of time. Instead of tips and tricks, I'll go directly to the questions. We had a question from Liam, which was that Microsoft advised against using Git as LCS required TFS or to directly for platform upgrades. And yes, if it's okay to use Git now. And are there any other barriers? Okay, so Git is not yet supported, so you're still stuck with the native version control system of VSTS, but Microsoft is moving towards Git, so it'll be coming. We just at some point. I just don't know when. Have you heard anything, Lasse?
I don't know anything about time frame, but I know that they are going to support it in
the future.
I don't know. Will it be in the near future? I don't think it will be in the near future because they are more concentrated on other things. But it will be coming because Microsoft, even their internal coding, they move everything to Git. So.
Okay. So Liam, my apologies again for not having caught your question right away. I hope that addresses your question. And does anyone have any more questions? Yep. Okay. So Liam says he asked late. It's never too late. If nothing else, we have a question answer at the end. Thanks, Liam. We're going to skip these tips and tricks. We'll move them on to the next session since we are running out of time. But we've covered everything that we ever had to cover. I'll jump over those. So to wrap up, please do your feedback. Here's the URL. You'll get an email with it anyway, so you don't need to remember it now. Thank you, everyone. We hope you have a wonderful Christmas with your families, and we'll see you next month. Thank you, everybody.